Hi, welcome to Whole Foods for Whole People. My name is Sandra and today we're making cookies. We're going to make sugar cookies and chocolate chip cookies. First, I wanted to talk about our sugar that we're going to use. I printed up some charts here so you can see kind of the processes sugars go through. Up here is your white sugar, and your turbinado demerara sugar would be finished off right in here after the filtering. Over here on the end where there's nothing in here, this is where you would have your brown sugars where the molasses is added back in. And this chart is how they get corn sweeteners. You have your corn that's been sitting for a while in whatever they're steeping it in. And then you get your corn oils and your feed products, your starches. Over here is your sweeteners and then your byproducts. So it really goes through a lot of different steps. And then down at the bottom, this is the collection of the sap from palm trees or from flowers, coconut flowers. And then it's evaporated. That's all they do for those. And so they're very much natural, less processed. They still have minerals in them, much more than other sugars. And here's a bit what they look like. This is your white sugar. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that. Over here's your palm sugar, where they get the sap out of the palm trees, just like kind of maple syrup, how they do. And then this is what it looks like when you buy it in the store. This is just a small little cone. It's dried out in molds. And then in this little tub, we've got coconut sugar, not nearly as sweet as your other sugars, but very low glycemic, very caramelly in taste. And then over here's your turbinado sugar or demerara sugar. They're the exactly same thing, just demerara is the location where it was first processed in this way. Turbinado is because it's processed in turbines. So the first cookie we're going to make is a sugar cookie. We've got our processor over here, our stand mixer, 1 stick of butter. Use whole butter if you can, whole milk, raw butter. So it's half a cup. We're going to blend that for a while. When you're blending this, you want to make sure that your butter is soft already. It's room temperature. And that's going to help it all come together much faster. We've got 3/4 cup of demerara sugar. We're going to toss that in, and then it's going to blend for quite a while just to lighten it up. And when you see it really starting to build in size, that's when we're going to add our eggs. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Okay, we've got our butter and our sugar mixed together. The demerara is not going to dissolve as much as your white sugar. So you're still going to wait for it to double in size. Not double in size, increase in size. And then we're going to add in 2 eggs. Always crack them into another container in case there's an eggshell that falls out. We're going to pour these in. And now it's definitely going to mix for a while. We want to increase in volume. We want it to get fluffy. Okay, so we've got our sugar and our eggs incorporated into our butter. Next, we're going to add our flour. We're not using vanilla in our cookie recipes simply because our sugar has enough flavor in it already that we really don't need the use of vanilla. So we're going to put it in 2 cups of flour. This has already got the salt and the baking soda already added in there. Not baking powder, baking soda. And we're using a bleached flour, and it is wheat. If you are worried about the wheat, you can try a different flour. You can also soak your wheat flour ahead of time for 24 hours with something like vinegar, lemon juice, and a bit of water to incorporate, and that will help digestion. You can do the same thing for beans actually, but we're just going to do it with dry flour for today. And we're going to go ahead and mix that in gently at first, and then once it's started to incorporate, we'll go ahead and mix it for probably 30 seconds once you see it incorporated in here. Okay, we've got our first dough. We're going to pull it off of here. There we go. Go ahead and get your dough off of your mixer. It's a fairly firm dough. This is what you would make rolled sugar cookies with. You roll them out. All those Christmas cookies that you see. We've got a piece of parchment we're going to roll this on too. this into a log. Just kind of form it. Let's see if you can see that. Form it into a log. Because we're going to put this in the fridge for 2 hours and then another half an hour in the freezer just to firm it up a little bit. And then we can just slice it and do what we're going to do next with it. Make it extra yummy. A little more of a grown-up sugar cookie. We're going to roll it with our parchment paper. There we go. Give our ends just a little twist. And then we're going to wrap it in some plastic paper just to fortify it a little bit more. Okay, that's going to go in our fridge for 2 hours, in the freezer for half an hour. We're going to move on to our chocolate chip cookie. Put our mixer back in, mixer attachment. You can mix this by hand. You can mix it with a hand mixer. If you have access to a restaurant and you want to make a large amount, you can use a floor stand mixer. We're going to start off with, well, it's 1.3 cups of butter. It's a lot of butter for our chocolate chip cookie. So if you've got your sticks of butter, it's 2 sticks and then 2/3 of another stick, 5 tablespoons. If you're using your own butter, which I would recommend, as a whole foods, you definitely want to make your own butter. And we're going to go ahead and cream this. Because we used room temperature butter, we do not have to worry about our hard butter trying to get it mixed up. It just blends right through. So we're going to use 1/4 cup of coconut sugar and then 1 3/4 cup of our demerara sugar. We're going to go ahead and incorporate that together. Always scrape down your sides, stuff gets stuck. There's tons of butter on the sides of this one where the sugar hasn't mixed in. And that coconut sugar is going to give it a very caramelly taste. It's going to give it a lot more depth. 2 eggs again. These are really yummy cookies. Usually we bake maybe half of them and the other half we actually eat the dough. So we're going to dump this in there and we're going to beat it for a while. You want it to get super fluffy. It really helps with that texture, especially with having the demerara sugar. It stays in little chunks even after it's set for 24 hours in the fridge, and it gives it almost a raw cookie quality. But you definitely want to beat it up for quite a while to get some airiness to it because it's a kind of heavy cookie. Okay, this is blended for a solid 3 minutes now. It's very fluffy, very creamy. Still have all the granules from the demerara sugar. And the coconut sugar has really well incorporated and given it such a depth, a very earthiness in a good way. All right, so the next thing, if you're going to add vanilla, this is where you would add in your vanilla. I'm not going to use it since we've got the coconut sugar. We're going to add in our flour. This is 2 cups of all-purpose flour and then 1 1/4 cups of bread flour just to give it a denser texture. It gives it a little more solidness. It's not a light cookie. It's definitely a very filling cookie. I've also got a teaspoon of Himalayan sea salt and a teaspoon of baking soda, not baking powder, but baking soda. So we're going to dump this in here and we're going to start it off on slow just so it doesn't shoot flour everywhere. And then we're going to have some fun with what we add in. Okay, once your flour starts to incorporate it, give it another 30 seconds. And then it's ready. You don't want to overmix your cookies. Okay, what we're going to add in here is I've got some milk chips and some semi-sweet chocolate chips. I've got 12 ounces. That's the minimum of what you want for this. I'm going to add in a few other things, I think. So that's why I'm just going with 12 ounces. Normally, if it's just a straight chocolate chip cookie, you're going to do at least 18 ounces. If you buy your chocolate chips in a bag, That's usually a bag and a half. If you make your chocolate chips, well, you're going to have to measure it for yourself. But we're going to dump this in. And then I'm going to go over here to all my little bottles, and I think we're going to do some oatmeal. These are rolled oats. You could also use whole oats. I'll show you the difference real quick. These are ones that have not been rolled out. It's the oat all by itself. And then these are the rolled oats. This is what you typically find in an oatmeal cookie. It's nice and flat. So we've got, let's see, it's about half a cup, just under half a cup. We're going to dump that in there. And then let's do some cinnamon. If you have a tablespoon of cinnamon. Make it a little festive. People are coming over later. Maybe have a little party. We're going to blend that together. You want to be very gentle now because all your flour is already in there. And you do not want to overwork your flour. Even if it's sitting for a full day, you do not want to overwork your flour. It will make a tougher cookie. There we go. Okay, everything's blended well. We're going to give it one quick last blend. All right. So we're going to put this in a glass bowl. It's going to sit in our fridge. It definitely is better after 24 hours, but for our purposes, it'll just sit in there for a couple of hours, and then I'll show you what it looks like. We'll see you back here then. So we've made our cookies. We've already mixed up our batter. I've gone ahead and baked off a few of these. They're still really warm, so I don't want to pick them up. They'll fall right apart for me. Put them back over here. We're going to put our cookies, more dough, on our tray. It's about 12 pieces, usually 3 across, 4 down on your baking sheet. It's parchment lined so that we get that nice round puffy cookie. If you used it straight on the metal, it would kind of spread. And then you're going to end up with those thin cookies that just aren't the prettiest thing to look at. And they don't have much texture. So we're going to get our 12 little bits of cookie. I'm using a cookie scoop. You can use tablespoons, teaspoons, depending on what size cookie you want. Growing up, we always just used a tablespoon or a teaspoon. This just is quicker for me. And they're going to go in a 350-degree oven for 12 minutes. Make sure to set your timer, get that going. All right, while that's sitting, I like to do just one tray at a time while I'm working on other things. And you're not going to forget about them because they smell amazing. But we're going to make our crust for our sugar cookies. Now the sugar cookie recipe we made is actually a rolled cookie recipe. So it's what you would use at your Christmas, Easter, those kind of things. The ones you would decorate to make your gingerbread men, to make your Easter eggs, to make your snowmen and your Christmas trees, your angels. What we're going to do today, instead of doing that, is we're going to crust our cookies. So they're in the freezer right now in their last phase of getting ready. We're going to grate the rind off of 2 lemons. Okay, so we have got our lovely lemon rind all grated up. I used a very fine grater for this. And we're going to dump in our sugar. It's about almost a cup of sugar. We're going to mix it through. We want that lemon all broken up into the sugar. All that zest. And this is a great thing just to have on hand. You can put it in a jar, and that lemon will flavor the sugar, and then you can flavor your teas, your cereals, whatever you want to have lemon flavor. You can use oranges. Tangerines makes a really good one. You can use grapefruit, any kind of citrus that you want to have that flavor. You can incorporate it in your sugar. You can also do the same thing with vanilla and vanilla beans and other extracts just to give your sugar another level. It works best with the refined white sugar, unfortunately. But it gives us a really pretty cookie. Gives us a nice clean taste. And now we've got that about mixed. You can see I've got a few little lumps. Well, maybe you can't see. A few little lemon rind lumps. So I'm going to keep working on this, and we'll be back with more cookies. So we've got our cookie dough out of the freezer. It needs to sit a minimum of 2 hours in the fridge, and then that last half hour you want to pop it in the freezer. And we've got our roll. We'll save that parchment just in case we need it again. What we're going to do is make lovely slices. These are nice thick slices. We're going to have a nice thick cookie, and we're going to crust it right in our sugar. So it's going to have that lemony sugar flavor all on the outside. Here's our little end. Go ahead and crust it. Even though it's been frozen, it's still quite sticky for the sugar. Go ahead and cut a few more of these. And these are going to bake on your tray. They're not going to spread too much, but they're going to bake on your tray for 10 minutes in that 350-degree oven. When you pull it out, remember, let it sit for at least 60 seconds. Otherwise, your cookie's going to fall apart completely. And we're going to put these on our tray and in the oven, and we'll see you back in just a minute. Right, before we check on our cookies, I wanted to do a quick review. Use high quality ingredients in your cookies. Make sure that they sit in your fridge for at least 24 hours to rest and melt their flavors together. Really good for freezing. They last a long time in the fridge. And also, once you've pulled them out of the oven, give them 60 seconds to rest on the tray so that when you pull them off, they don't break apart or squish up. They're going to keep their shape. Now, what to do with these cookies? Assuming you haven't lost all your cookie dough and you have something to bake, our sugar cookies with our lemon crust make excellent ice cream sandwiches. Mix some raspberry sherbet along with some vanilla ice cream. Put it in the freezer after you've scooped it together. Makes the best ice cream sandwiches. And the kids love making cookie monsters. Take your cookie on the bottom, put in a bit of frosting in the front half, smush your other cookie on top. You can even put some little cookie eyes, little eyes on your cookie, and you have a cookie monster, and they can attack the monster. Anyway, that has been our cookies. We've done sugar cookies, chocolate chip cookies. Make it your own recipe. Add whatever you want into them or on them, and enjoy. Have fun baking. We'll see you again. So, what do you do with these cookies? Assuming that your cookies make it into being baked, assuming that you actually have cookies to bake. Use your cookie dough and your cookie dough ice cream. Just throw the balls of cookie dough in at the last minute. Otherwise, your ice cream will not stay fluffy. Your ice cream will not be ice cream. It'll be really... Right before we check out our hand... All right, before we check out our... Make your chocolate chips if you can. It's really easy to make using flour. Well, it's a cookie. You can do whatever you want with the cookie. Cookie.